We have our incredible moderator joining us on stage, who I was chatting to earlier. That is Gordon Einstein. And along with that, we have our panel, who are Ryan Pendleton from Trade Dog Market Maker. We have Crypto Kid, crypto trader. We have Valentin Preobrazhensky, the CEO and founder of La Token. We have Gaurav Dahake, the co-founder and CEO of BitBins, and we have Safvik Vishwanath, CEO of Unocoin. So please, everyone, put your hands together for our next panel. We're excited for this one. Gordon, take it away.
Thank you so much. Oh, does this work? Testing, testing. Oh, there we go. Let's see who we got here. How are you? Come on up. Gordon, pleasure. Crypto Kid, remember you? How's it going? I'll sit here. I'll sit where Anita sat because that is the chair of honor. And I don't know if we have a full group, so why don't you shimmy this way and then we'll see how it fills in. Hi, Gordon. Good to see you. And we got microphones for everyone. I love it. How's everyone doing? Are we awake? Are we happy? Yes, fantastic. Good morning or good afternoon. What is it now? Okay, very good. So a topic near and dear to my heart, which is the association between exchanges and crypto growth. And maybe also, oh, good morning. How are you? Wow, we got the whole crew. Hello. Fantastic. More microphones. You know what? I'm going to do a little unusual start, but I think they'd be good for the audience. How about each person gives their 1-minute introduction of themselves, real fast, how you got into crypto and what your current involvement is, just so we have some context of who we have up here on the stage. So name, rank, serial number, that whole thing. Start with you. And are microphones working? Here, I think. Testing, 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 testing. Yeah.
Hi everyone, good morning. So my name is Satvik Vishwanath, the CEO and co-founder at Unocoin. So Unocoin is the India's first crypto trading platform. So we are in operation since 10 years. We have a team of about 65 of us and serve about 2.5 million Indians. So I got into crypto because in my previous business, I had to get money from US to India, and the only way that was there at that time because of the quantum of the money was to get it through PayPal, which used to charge me about 7% for transaction fees plus conversion back into Indian rupees. So that made me start looking upon alternatives and happened to stumble upon Bitcoin. Then I saw a market opportunity that we can provide a services for Bitcoin in India for Indians because there was no such service. So yeah, that made me start upon Unocoin.
Very good.
Hey guys, I'm Crypto Kid. I'm the youngest analyst and YouTuber on crypto. And
you really have to rub that in. Every time I see you, you rub that in my face. Okay, go ahead.
And I started crypto 3 years ago, so I was 12. And you know, I was just very entrepreneurial as a kid, and you know, I'm still a kid. But so one day I just wondered, you know, how people make a lot of money from stocks. So I decided to learn about, you know, technical analysis, and I came across crypto, and you know, completely, you know, I was so enlightened, and you know, I realized that it could change our monetary system. So I decided to put my head down and learn the space. But that's me.
Please.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Ryan Pendleton. I work with TDFi at the moment, TDMM specifically, which is a market maker. So it's very important with respect to exchanges. I've been in the crypto space almost 2 years now. I've worked at a few smaller startups and with a high-level KOL last year. So fully immersed in the space, a full crypto evangelist. I believe in blockchain revolution being the future, and I'm really excited to be a part of it and living somewhere like Dubai where everybody embraces innovation and crypto in general, and just the scene is growing so rapidly. It's great to be a part of it.
So, hi, I'm Gaurav. I run an exchange from India called BitBins. We offer all options for users, right from spot trading, margin trading, derivatives, systematic investments. Now expanding globally, live in Turkey, and soon going live in the Middle East as well. Recently, I've launched a product called onram.money, which is Stripe for Web3. So you would be able to sort of aggregate payments on any Web3 app using that, and that's sort of growing along well.
Hi, my name is Wakas. We run a tech studio here in Dubai. We've been close to 4 years into the blockchain space. We've closely developed about close to 35 blockchain projects in Saudi and UAE here. We have our inborn product called as a card chain, which is a real estate asset tokenization protocol.
Fantastic. Now, there's an expression I like, which is, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. And in some ways, maybe I am. Before we talk about how exchanges are related to future crypto growth, why do we need exchanges in the first place, given this sort of digital world? What is it what functionality do exchanges provide to the crypto universe? What gap do they fill? And since you were good and donated questions.
Sure. So when it comes to crypto, right, so, I mean, let's say talk about Bitcoin. So what is that it is bringing to table is fast and free payments across the world. And before this, the freedom that we got, which was not so easy, is passing of information from one place to another, right? So the next one was passing of value from one place to another without any kind of restrictions. So now if we need to pass on this freedom to others, the only way for them to get in hold in such a way that it's like easy to do in a trusted manner is exchanges like us, right? So people come there to have a piece of whatever crypto that they're looking for, and then they will, I mean, unless they do a couple of transactions, especially the ones which goes from one part of the world to another part of the world, and the way it works, they will not feel the difference, right? So these exchanges, and also, I mean, generally all applications have made it so simple that, okay, you just click a button, it goes. And in my country as well, there are apps like Paytm, and I'm sure there will be few in other, I mean, here as well in most of the developer countries. And what was different? At the end, when you click the button, it just goes, right? So money goes. It's even the bank itself is same. Crypto itself is the same, right? So if we start looking at a little bit deeper how it went, that's where all the magic is. It goes without anyone in between. So that is a freedom, right? So
actually, let me jump in for a second. So part of the point of crypto, at least Bitcoin, is it's a peer-to-peer transactional system. So I don't need an exchange to send someone money. I can just do it directly. I think, and the panel can jump in, I think the two main functions are when you're going in and out of fiat and when you're going from crypto to crypto. Is that a fair?
Yes, but that's only after you have Bitcoin, right? So what is the easiest way to for you to get Bitcoin? It's
Steal
not
it.
Really go and meet someone, and it makes it tough, right? So usually the
Ransomware, I thought, was the easiest way. No.
Let's say legally. Sure, but yeah, I think this is where it's really have its importance to get into this virtual. So on the other side, if you see, I mean, we have crypto, then we have DeFi, you have NFTs, you can have metaverse, but at the end of the day, for all of these, when it comes to economy, it has to be one or the other form of crypto, right? So at the end, so there has to be a marketplace for swapping these, and I think the easiest and best way to do that is a good exchange.
Okay, so you added something that I didn't mention, which is sort of price discovery on the value of each asset as well, which, but
sure.
maybe the panel wants to know, why, just real basic, what function do exchanges provide that we need when it comes to crypto?
I mean, the most basic answer is you need a place to be able to trade and actually get some crypto. And exchanges provide that. Especially to new investors. You need a place where it's all simply laid out, where you can start off. You can connect your bank account and you can purchase some crypto with your credit card, etc. So that's the main role that an exchange comes to play.
And I think also an exchange is a great place. It's obviously a centralized exchange, maybe Binance or Coinbase, for someone to buy their initial purchase of any kind of cryptocurrency, be it Bitcoin, Ethereum, or something maybe they've heard of from their friends. Obviously, if you KYC, any normal person can make their first purchase, and then I personally find it a little bit overwhelming. These bigger exchanges, like say maybe Binance, the first time you open it, it's not necessarily user-friendly for someone that doesn't know anything about crypto. So personally, if I'm going to tell any of my friends, I'd say maybe go to Coinbase. It's a little bit easier to navigate and buy whatever you want. And the biggest advice, I don't know about you, but I'll always say take your money off an exchange because you never know what's going to happen to it. It's not really owned by you if you leave it on the exchange. But it's a good way to get started.
So you're anticipating my next question, which is, you're making a good point, which is it's a good way to get users onboarded in the first place. I'm guilty of that also. I did it. That's how I first got on there, a normal centralized exchange. But you're leading into the next question, which is, given what's happened with FTX, given what's happened with regulation, are exchanges a help or a hindrance to the growth of the industry now?
Obviously, they're going to help the industry because people need to learn, they need to be able to make the purchase of their cryptocurrencies. But I think the lessons that we're learning now and the precedents that are being set is that nothing's really safe. I mean, crypto is still like the Wild West. Like, there's no real framework. It's such a new industry. Obviously, people are going to copy from classical banking and finance, but it's evolving so fast. I mean, as you're aware, everyone in this room, crypto moves so fast. It's 24/7, every single day. New things are coming up. So the important lesson we can learn, say, from FTX is to, take your crypto somewhere that you can have it. I mean, not necessarily a hot wallet, but not everyone really needs a ledger or cold storage if you're only going to be playing around with small amounts of crypto. But anything that you technically own, you should be able to take it off the exchange and keep it for yourself. So I think that's the fundamental lesson that we've learned there. Crypto exchanges are always going to be a help, but we've got a long way to go with creating a better space for all of us.
Let me gentleman at the end.
Right. So, what's the most basic thing when mankind came into existence did, right? So they bartered, right? Barter is just an exchange. You're exchanging one thing for the other, right? So that's the fundamental unit of any activity that you sort of drive, any economic activity. Crypto exchanges happen to have sort of that phenomenon. It's just that, and that's precisely why the maximum money or revenue that is made across in anything crypto is by exchanges. It might be decentralized exchanges, it might be centralized exchanges that way to sort of do it. Exchanges definitely would sort of remain. The guardrails in terms of, so good exchanges are good for the ecosystem, bad exchanges of course bad. So we'll see a lot of guardrails being built and people being able to sort of filter out the good ones from the bad with certain metrics in place like proof of reserves, proof of liabilities, metrics around that, so that people have a more clearer view around whether this exchange is serving my needs properly or that's something that's not sort of being done right.
In a simpler terms, like, when you ask Gordon that, like a 5-year-old that to explain what the exchange's growth is, I'd like to point 3 major areas where the significance of the exchanges come into place is, one obviously is being the on-ramping and off-ramping, because you need a place where you need to on-ramp and off-ramp. So that's where the centralized or decentralized exchanges come into play. Second, obviously, is where any digital asset is now in the initial stage or the primary purchase. It's predominantly very easy to do a P2P trade, or the first purchase could happen anywhere. But where exactly the exchanges play a role is the secondary trade, because you need a medium where to find these buyers, and your secondary trade obviously happens on the exchange. And thirdly is now the exchanges have actually become more of stored value wallets, where people are actually storing and staking. The DeFi protocol has also been picked up a lot by most of the exchanges. So in reality, the exchanges have played a major role in terms of the growth and the adoption of the ecosystem altogether, and plus providing liquidity as well. So any digital asset that needs to be traded, and you need to have that secondary market where if I'm buying from the first source, then I need to go and liquidate it somewhere. So that's where the exchanges play a real vital role.
Yeah, you made me, I guess it's obvious, but you just made me think about it, which is with normal stocks and securities, you're not storing your stock with the exchange waiting to trade it. But you are with Binance and Coinbase and the rest of these. You have an account with the exchange where it's almost like you store your crypto and you just on occasion trade it using the exchange. It's unusual, I guess, that in crypto we've conflated these two things, the bank and the exchange, into one monolithic entity. maybe there's some kind of midpoint where, you know, something that's easier than a cold wallet storage, but some kind of account that's segregated from the exchange, but tapping into the exchange when necessary. Do we need exchanges in the current form, or do we need dedicated custodial services in a constellation around them, like regular securities?
So the problem here is basically the complexity of the use. Now, the whole ecosystem is so complex for a normal user that, you know, you try to find what is more feasible and what is more seamless for us to actually have the use itself. And that's where the exchanges have actually taken an advantage of the normal user, giving them the opportunity to store the digital asset with them, and then again at the back end also use the liquidity at some point of time. That's what will happen with FTX. We've seen all, you know, what the major issue has been. But at the same time, you know, if the complexity was not there, and if the user base was pretty much more advanced in terms of using cold storage or using other third-party wallets to actually store your the wallets that were actually designed to actually store your digital assets, and then use the exchange only as a medium for trade or as a medium to find your secondary trade, then, you know, the whole scenario would have been different. But now I think it's merely the factor that, you know, it's actually very complex for a retail user to actually use these multiple mediums for that general trade.
Fair enough. Now, next question for the group. I personally have sort of a abandoned, I have a pirate love, we'll say, for decentralized exchanges. I like what they represent ideologically. I like what they represent technologically. But just addressing one of the points raised in the prior panel, it's not, you know, there's a little bit, there are security risks associated with these. They do get hacked, and it's not just silly users. I mean, sometimes the code is wrong, but then again, we're seeing FTX, you know, and which actually almost kind of had government backing, or at least government friends, at least in the Democratic Party in the U.S. You know, I don't know about the whole story. I don't know what's safe, and I don't know which way the industry is supposed to go. Centralized exchanges, decentralized. What's your, if you're talking about 2030, where are we going to be? Crypto Kid, I'm going to point on you. And you're going to have to speak loud and.
Hello.
There you go.
So yeah, by the year 2030, I mean, we're actually not that far in terms of the lifetime of crypto. I mean, we're only like 11 years after the making of Bitcoin. And when you look at the traditional system, you know, stocks have been bonds, securities, they've been there for ages. And of course, in one decade, there's been crazy progress. However, you know, there's always these faulty people in crypto, like FTX, which, you know, gave a lot of fear to the people. And I think DeFi is pretty revolutionary. However, I think it will be hit by mass regulatory issues. Because of course, DeFi, you know, it's complex. You know, anyone can go on there, and there's no terms of tracking. You know, very limited. So I think it's going to be hit by a lot of regulatory issues, and I think it should be to keep, you know, the space safe. But when you look at CeFi, I think CeFi will see, again, more regulatory, you know, stuff going on, and that will help these things like FTX not be repeated again. So I think CeFi, you know, centralized finance, that will be still the top in 2030. That's my personal opinion, and it will just be, you know, more. It'll be safer in regards, you know, proof of reserves. We've seen proof of reserves being launched by many exchanges, replying to, you know, FTX fears. So I think it'll just be a safer environment for CeFi, because if something like FTX happens again, I think a lot of trust will be lost in crypto. So,
but why are you giving the caveat that if something like it happens again, hasn't there been a degree of loss of trust now?
Yes, of course. There has been, and it's very unfortunate. And, you know, I think we're still, you know, hanging on that cliff with crypto. But again, if something like this repeats again after, you know, a mistake has been made, and people, if they don't learn from this and it happens again, then I think institutional investors, they're going to be scared. If they come away, then that's when the big problem occurs.
I think honestly here in Dubai we're very lucky. We have VARA. They're coming on like leaps and bounds in their way to protect us. Like they're setting all the rules and regulations now. They're laying out the framework. People are going to have to comply, especially when it comes to proof of reserves as well. I find that's a bit of a touchy subject because yes, technically there should be proof of reserves, but look at classical banking. They don't have to prove that they have your money. You can't, if you have $10 million in your account, you can't walk in and take it out the next day. I think they only need to, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 11% is the European rule that they're supposed to have in their reserves compared to the amount that they have in the bank. So when it comes to crypto, why are they saying it should be 100% proof of reserve? I mean, surely that's the way banks operate. An exchange is just a new version of a bank. So again, I think it throws into this discussion, how safe, I mean, should we look at the classical banking system as well, and the way, as you said earlier on, it compares to stocks. Stocks is a completely different way of trading a commodity, but they're not held the same way that you hold crypto. So again, the crypto exchanges have to evolve to really support the system that we use.
So it's an interesting point. I mean, with banks in the U.S., I'm sure everywhere else, you have you have the equivalent of FDIC insurance. So you have the central bank that will step in if your reserves are insufficient. You don't have that in crypto.
Exactly.
So it's more like a securities exchange, or a security brokerage rather, or custodianship. And are we going to impose 100% reserve requirements on this, or what do we do?
It's crazy. I mean, who knows? But that's the interesting thing. We're in the evolution of these mistakes being made, and we're actually setting a precedent. Okay, what do we do now? So, as Efe said, I mean, yes, there's a mistake's been made, and there'll be more mistakes coming up. It's going to happen, but that's how we learn, and that's how everyone's going to evolve in this industry. And that's the most exciting thing, is that it's not about, oh, a mistake can't happen again. It's like, okay, how do we learn from this, and then we'll learn from the next one. It's just the way it works.
Gaurav, I feel like you wanted to say.
Yeah, so I think what we'll see is more like CDeFi towards it. Centralized exchanges would continue to exist. The ratio of centralized exchanges versus decentralized exchanges is somewhere around 95-5 right now. I would expect that to be around, say, 50-50 over by 2030. Like, DeFi exchanges would grow much further. They've already been sort of growing much faster than the centralized exchanges, and but users would need the ease of a centralized exchange. So it would be more like a CDeFi solution where centralized exchanges are acting as wrappers on top of DeFi, or decentralized exchanges where people are able to sort of trade seamlessly on those.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd just like to add one thing. I think the place where DeFi is going to boom is going to be the gaming industry. Because of course, you know, when you play games and we're looking at the concept of blockchain gaming and people actually being able to own their assets in game and create a monetary value. Of course, you can't set up, you know, the average, you know, gamer is below 18 and they won't be able to do these KYC and actually have a centralized system where they trade these, you know, in-game economical goods. So I think DeFi in the gaming space, where, you know, player to player, you're actually going to be able to trade the items that you earn or, you know, you make in the game. I think that's where DeFi is going to be very, very useful. And, you know, that it's a huge economy, the gaming economy. And if DeFi captures that, I think, you know, it could be potentially greater than CeFi, because the amount of gamers in the world are much, much more compared to the people who are just, you know, holding crypto and, you know, in the finance space or investing.
So I'm aware that every demographic loves gaming, but it does skew young. Can you do KYC AML on those 14-year-olds?
No. I have to use my parents' account, but.
Okay. You want to comment?
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to the DeFi, I think the decentralized exchanges, one of the major issues is the age at which people can use it, right? So people are not very comfortable in installing tools like MetaMask and doing the copy pasting things and giving the access. And moreover, the people, like how people want to get smarter, there are also people who try to con them online, right? So the chances of smart contract being wrong, or DeFi something with the decentralized exchanges something going wrong, in a similar way, there are a lot of chances that whatever the user is trying to do also would go wrong. and they will actually lose the money, even though it was not intentional mistake. I think so. This is one of the biggest worry for people, and also there is quite a bit of learning curve for people to go through this step of how to install decentralized tools and use it, where there is no such customer support or someone to help, right? So, but when it comes to exchanges, at least there is someone whom you can ask, right? So, I mean, how I can do this. Eventually, I do agree with Gaurav that this will happen maybe 50-50 or 40-60, whatever the ratio is. But that will need like a change of the mindset of people itself, right? So, let's say about 10 years ago, I was not expecting someone who is 60-year-old to actually use WhatsApp, but today even 80-year-old uses it, right? So, that is a shift that has happened. It has taken time, right? So, people eventually...
Sorry, is there anyone in the audience 80 and are you using WhatsApp? Does anyone admit to being 80? Okay, never mind.
My father uses it, so that's what I know, right? So, that's what eventually I've got to know. So yeah, that has to be a shift in mindset, I think. So that's one thing. I mean, if that happens, I think people would not mind, I guess, as long as they're careful and they're comfortable with it. So this is a huge bottleneck today. Today only techies uses it, not the normal people. Yeah.
Great. So final question for the group. Since we're talking about the growth of crypto, we did sort of touch on it, but in the holy battle between DeFi and centralized, where's the future really? Or is there some third option I'm not articulating?
The rate of growth of DeFi would be faster than CeFi, but CeFi would be the one that would be able to catch the institutional layer better, because the institutional layer understands centralized finance versus decentralized finance. So on the retail scale, DeFi growth, of course, is from a smaller base, so it would be faster. And over time, it would catch up to the centralized phase. But centralized CeFi part would be able to sort of catch the institutional layer and grow further from there.
So maybe I need to reframe my question. Is part of the idea that as we move forward in time, DeFi is sort of the tip of the spear, breaking new ground with the avant-garde or the trendsetters, and CeFi kind of follows in its wake in a more steady manner, maybe right for institutions? Is that a possible future?
Yeah, I think so. And I think when regulations all catch up or it evolves, there's always going to be a space for DeFi. Everyone's going to always need to trade on decentralized exchanges depending on the project, as you said, and gaming and all kinds of, obviously there's pros and cons, but when it comes to personal finance, I think centralized is the way. And with mass adoption, just to get through to the everyday person that's going to be using crypto day to day, centralized is definitely the way forward, but there's always room for both. I think they're all going to evolve, and it's exciting to see where it's going to go.
Fantastic. Any last word of wisdom?
Yeah, I think when it comes to when we're talking about regulators, right? So, yeah, I definitely believe that regulations are something which is really needed by the industry. But I doubt if there will ever be a regulator who will come up and say that, okay, so these are the rules, follow according to the rules. If something goes wrong, I'm responsible for it, right? That kind of regulator, I don't think it will appear for something like such a speculative and very volatile, and when it comes to tech. And so there's so much of phases for crypto, right? So that kind of regulator, I doubt. And when that is true, then it is obviously the onus come upon the whether decentralized exchange or centralized exchange for handling the funds that is required. The regulator may only come up with saying that, okay, you have to do this KYC, make sure the bank accounts you are linking, there's no cash transactions, whatever, right? So those are more general guidelines. I doubt the regulator would actually put the entire responsibility saying that, okay, you follow this is a rule book, I'm responsible.
I'm seeing that a bit. It's a good point. I'm seeing this a bit in the U.S. with the SEC. They don't want to make rules because when the rules don't work, they don't want to be held accountable. So they just punish you according to rules that they'd never announce. It's kind of annoying. Well, yeah, it's great. Okay, let's give a big round of applause, please, to our wonderful panel.